Now we are live.
All right,
Go ahead.
Rock and roll, get out of my lab! We saw Extraordinary Measures, so that means it's another time for another Portland at the movies. Oh, that's the wrong thing.
In a world, in the year, in a time, in a city, in a war that isn't his. Every day in New York City, on the Miami Police Force, in the Deep South, in Portland, Oregon.
I'm purifying it out of lactating bovine udder.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Portland at the Movies. I am one of your hosts, Todd Workhoven, and with me, as always, is Mark Middleton. How are you, Mark?
I'm really well. I'm doing great.
Good, good. And joining us, of course, is Brian, the Unipiper Kid. How are you today, Brian?
I'm trying to stay awake.
You really took the medical message of this movie seriously. You're decked out in your science gear.
It's serving a twofold purpose. One, I figured dressing up would encourage me to do something fun with this otherwise fun-less movie, and I've got these cool goggles on. You can't see my eyes, so if I fall asleep, you won't.
We'll
be able
never
to
know.
tell.
Yeah, those are cool. Those are like the flip up welding goggles, which is really cool. So yes, you can totally hide your sleeping. Because yes, this movie came out in 2010. Extraordinary Measures. It stars.
It's the most recent movie we've seen.
Yeah, so far. And I'm trying to think. Is that the newest like big release movie that's been done in Portland? Was Untraceable before or after that?
I
feel like it was before.
Don't know off the top of my head.
But there's a lot of stuff that's been filming here, but I think that was the last like big production that came through town.
Yeah, it's been TV shows since.
Yeah, we really did find our niche. Portland did find its niche in kind of the TV shows. There's a couple of them, a couple Netflix shows too coming to town this next season too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I saw there's a Facebook group that I'm part of that is like the extras casting for all the things, and there's a couple upcoming projects for Netflix and a couple other things. So this movie, however. How to explain this movie? It, like I said, stars Harrison Ford, Brendan Fraser, and Kerry Russell are the main leads. And this story is, like we mentioned, a medical drama. And it is made. The first thing that stuck out to me is it made by CBS Studios, which is the television studios. And this movie is basically a Lifetime movie.
It was weird seeing that CBS logo because it took me out of the movie experience.
Because it was their television logo. It wasn't like their movie arm or whatever. It was just the CBS logo, and that really did set the tone for like that 1980s after school special type thing that this is. So this movie is about Brendan Fraser plays a dad in this movie, married to Kerry Russell. Kerry Russell and Brendan Fraser have 3 kids in this movie. 2 of which, ages 9 and 7 in the movie, have something called Pompe disease. And basically, Pompe disease is when your body, let's see if I can get all this medical science that they threw at us.
What is Pompe
disease? This week on the Mark and Toddcast. It sounds like the body is missing an enzyme that converts sugar into glucose, I believe. And because of that, it atrophies your muscles and your organs start to enlarge. And usually by the time you're 8 or 9, you would die. So it had a very short life expectancy. This movie is about finding a medical breakthrough that doesn't reverse or cure. It reverses a little bit. It's not cure the disease, but it allows patients to live a much longer lifespan than it used to be. They're able to synthesize the enzyme, and that's what this movie is about. And this movie is just about as exciting as the description I just gave.
Yes,
it is a lot of very low energy. Like no one is like, even in the scenes where Kerry Russell and Brendan Fraser, their daughter almost dies, and that kind of kicks off part of his search for this cure, this enzyme. And I feel like this whole movie, like, when you go into I was going to say, what is it when you go and you want to get a role in a movie? You go, not rehearse, you
audition.
I was going to say apply. No, you audition. Yes, audition. Thank you. And someone is off screen, like reading the other parts so that you have someone to react off to. I feel like this movie was all guy off screen reading the other parts of the movie just to have something to react to, because it was all just, like I said, very low energy and very...
It was also what I had a problem with was how they explained things to the audience in the movie. Like there was a scene where Brendan Fraser tracks down Harrison Ford, and previously we had seen that Brendan Fraser had been spending like sleepless nights reading every single paper that Harrison Ford had wrote. And then the first thing he says when he meets him is like, I want to hear about your research. It's like, about his research.
And then Harrison Ford, I'll play a little clip of it here. Then Harrison Ford launches into like a lot of this. And this is what the whole movie feels like. I'll play this for maybe like 15 or 20 seconds, but
please no more.
I know, really.
Everybody's making an enzyme, but you can infuse kids all day long with their enzyme, and it's not going to do any good because it's not going to get into their cells. Understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, so that means that you just put the sugar.
Don't interrupt.
Stop saying.
I'm making a different version of this enzyme. My enzyme has a biological marker.
Anyway, so it just keeps going. I know Brian nodded off there again, but it is a lot, and I don't feel like it was overloaded with science. Like I wasn't getting lost in the technical jargon. I was just getting lost in the boredom.
I was taking notes and I wrote down 49 minutes. I'm bored.
It took you 49 minutes to get there. Well, let's start off with the positive of this movie, and I think that is the Portland location. So we have some screen caps that you'll be able to see if you're watching the video right now. If not, you can go to the portlandofthemovies.com and I'll post these same things, some screen caps of around town. And I did think that Portland looked really good here.
It did. It was slick, sharp, bright.
Yeah.
They showed some nice locations.
It was busy. They did that movie thing again where like Brendan Fraser is getting on the MAX train and it looks like the New York City subway at rush hour.
The same thing they did in The Hunted.
Yeah. But it looked like they had shots of from the Fox Tower. They had shots of Pioneer Square.
So we have a little technical difficulty that we're not going to be able to display on that screen, but people on Facebook will be able to watch.
Oh, sweet.
And so I will.
So why don't you walk us then through the locations?
And so I'll tilt my screen here.
Just tell us what we're looking at, Mark.
And we'll make that go live over there so people can see that.
Nice.
So we have just a downtown crowd shot next to Pioneer Courthouse Square. There's a lot of just downtown. There was like, if we were to group all of these locations, right. We've got several downtown. We've got a lot of hospital shots up at OHSU and from the hospital looking out, and we've got the Sky Bridge up at OHSU and all of this, which I believe was the Silver Bullet there yet in 2010.
I saw in the back of one of the shots. One of the is that what they're called? What did you call it? The Silver Bullet?
Yeah,
the
Skytram.
tram.
Yeah,
never heard that.
No, it looks like
is that a Mark term?
No. That's what it's
call
called.
it. There were real name. What is the real names of those things?
Oh, the Skytram.
Yeah. Well, no, it's like two Indian names. I think they ended up naming each pod or whatever.
Oh,
but I feel like I saw it in the background, so it was completed. I think this was 2010.
Tillicum and Kiko.
And whenever you get on in a place, I need to isolate that sound from Free Willy again. I need to take the effort to exit because I feel like we need a lot.
Along with Dr. Giggles.
That's not right. Yeah. And so
and they did have some shots that were this movie takes place. They live in Portland, which I don't think this is. Oh, by the way, this is also based on what it says. Not on a true story, inspired by true events is how they state it. So it's very. Harrison Ford's character in this movie does not exist in real life. It is an amalgamation between like a Japanese doctor and some other guy. And I have a feeling that
Oscar the Grouch.
I have a feeling because I think Harrison Ford is also one of the producers of this movie. I feel like when he came on board...
No, he was executive producer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I was... One of my first questions was, how did they get Harrison Ford to star in this Lifetime movie?
Right.
And he was... Was it his idea? I mean, like...
I feel like when he came on board, he's like, I want to play this character. And they're like, but he's Japanese. And he's like, well, we'll just write it to be exactly like me, Harrison Ford.
I worked long... worked long hours already.
Do you think Harrison Ford... was a driving force of getting this film made? Was his a passion project for Harrison Ford?
I kind of feel like it has to be. I mean, you don't.
Or the only way that they were able to get him to agree to do the movie is like, we'll give you executive producer credits.
Maybe. I don't know. But I mean, but that's the mystery in a lot of these movies. I mean, like, just like The Hunted, where you have like 3 Academy Award winners making a movie and it just doesn't work. And I think part of that is the script. Well, and part of, and we'll back up. So he's Brendan Fraser is the dad who's trying to find this synthetic enzyme so his kids can have a longer lifespan. The kids are reaching the age that they usually die. Brendan Fraser does all this research, find Harrison Ford's character who lives in Nebraska, who's a researcher that isn't funded but has some sort of breakthrough technology to make this enzyme. They team up together and try to get this drug made and to market. And that's the movie.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is the process of watching how drugs come to market.
You know, I think this would have made for a much more interesting podcast than a movie.
Well, and it was based on a book, which is probably really good. It was a book
Right.
and a series of articles that was written about this case. And it is kind of an interesting case because it is about like how they call them orphan drugs, which I didn't totally research.
I learned
but-
that term
Oh,
too.
did you? Yeah.
Yeah. It's
And I'm-
orphan drugs for orphan diseases.
And that means what?
I think they're orphan in the sense that they are
it's
kind
a
of
hard knock life for them.
abandoned by the scientific community because there is no, there's no profit behind. 'Cause they
Right,
wouldn't be able
okay.
to sell enough medicine
Right.
to make it worth investigating and spend the time and resources developing a cure.
Okay.
I hadn't really done the math in my head, and so I was thinking more about it's going to kill somebody, which was related to you, which would make you an orphan.
you an
But I
orphan.
didn't really put
You just
the
thought it
pieces
was-
together of like, oh, the person who would die would be the kid, little orphan Annie would die. So
Right.
maybe, and the parents would still be alive. So it'd just be
I don't know if that's math or that's just English.
it's just
All right, Mark,
thinking.
can you turn your microphone down? I hate to ask you that, but it's very
yeah.
loud.
Yeah. Okay.
Stop screaming at me.
I can play. I'll play something in the meantime.
I want to talk about the name of the book.
Oh yeah.
The Cure: How a Father Raised 100 Million and Bucketed the Medical Establishment in a Quest to Save His Children.
Yes, I saw that too. And it takes like 2
What?
lines to read. I think it was in that era, like. Hello.
You should be back.
Oh yeah, we're back.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Sorry, a little technical difficulty. I should have technical difficulties. That's all the music I have for technical difficulties. I can play some Small Wonder.
She's fantastic, made of plastic.
Okay. I turned mine down.
All right, cool. What was I saying?
Oh, you were going to play something.
We're good now.
Well, and I guess it comes back to Harrison. Trying to explicate why this movie is not good is kind of baffling because I can't point to one. Can you point to like Mark? Why was this movie bad?
There was definitely like character arc and a plot and things that the other bad movies that we watched don't have. But I feel like nothing was super relatable. Maybe.
I wasn't invested in the characters.
Yeah.
Everyone felt very flat. Like I
Right.
said, like it
You
was
had
the
a
first
dad.
time reading all of this material, and they didn't
Right.
quite know yet like how to read it. Like it was a cold read of the entire script,
Right.
where nobody knew what was going to happen.
and just sporadically Harrison Ford would start shouting.
Would start shouting. Yeah. So speaking of that, I got a tiny compilation of
him shouting.
Harrison Ford saying a couple things, and you'll kind of get the. Oh, maybe I don't have that. Well, I'll go find that later.
So things you did like about the movie? Was there anything?
Well, let's keep going through. Let's finish the locations. I think we were in the middle
Okay.
of that.
Yep.
Oh, I was talking about the Nike. This film takes place in Portland, Nebraska, a little bit of Seattle, and somewhere else. The Seattle shots were at a hospital, supposedly hospital there, but all of that was done on the Nike campus. So there's a couple shots, and they just dressed, the campus to have hospital signs, but there are some really beautiful shots of around Portland.
So I think the entire movie was filmed in Portland, or around Portland.
Around Portland,
Yeah.
yeah. I think so.
All right.
So there's downtown.
There's downtown.
Yep.
And
Notice everyone on their cell phone and people holding balloons and
doing the things. And then similarly, also Pioneer Courthouse Square. Just they had a lot of conversations sitting on the square, looking out over the square.
Fox Tower. That's where he worked.
Yeah, exactly. Fox Tower was the building that he worked, looking out over the other square. And is this OHSU?
That is OHSU. That might be the Dornbecker Children's.
Could be. Yep.
Yeah.
And then one of the neighborhoods we don't know exactly where it is, but we think
I feel like it's in Northeast, like if you go up Sandy to where the Rhinelander, which is no longer there, used to be, and there's that kind of hillside off to the north where all the nice, super nice rich houses are. I feel like it's up in that area.
Oh yeah, up behind the golf course area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting is that they're using a Broadway cab in that scene, but in another scene, they had a cab called Portland River Cab, which, unless it's a completely defunct company, I feel like they may have made up for the film.
That could be because they named one of the hotels the Portland Rose Hotel, or hospital, excuse me, instead of just OHSU.
Right.
Which was the stand-in. So I found our little clip here of Harrison Ford saying different things, and you'll see that he has like two speeds, one of which is to barely mumble, and the other one is just to shout like a crazy old man. So,
Outstanding cobbler. I'm purifying it out of lactating bovine udder.
And I'm not here to cross every T and dot every I, George. And I'm not here to be poked and prodded like a first-year med student. This is ridiculous. I already work around the clock. Why don't you just give him my balls in a jelly jar?
There's no other way I could get him to come back to the table.
Who needs the bastards anyway?
Without Rensler, there's no reason for us to even think about other venture groups.
Fine! Then I won't think about other venture groups.
Great.
so that.
Go take a crap.
Oh, sorry. I
You
stepped
on
all
the best.
back, all
You
back.
stepped
Here we
on
go
his
again.
crap.
Here we go again.
We'll go take a crap. That meets with your fiscal approval.
So yeah, that is it. That is kind of what this whole movie is like, and it feels like they thought that was enough to carry the movie because there really is no conflict in this movie. There's little bits of conflict, like Brendan Fraser needs the cure. Then he finds Harrison Ford who doesn't want to work for him. Oh, they solved that. Oh, well, then they go with this other business and they have a little problem. Oh, they solved that. Oh, then it's going to be oh, they solved that. So it's like these little hiccups that kind of feel like that's going to be the main conflict, and it results to nothing.
Right. You kind of need there's not a bad guy, is there?
No, I feel like
Pompeii disease.
Pompeii disease is totally the bad guy.
Do you think Harrison Ford is supposed to be? I mean, he's obviously supposed to be. I mean, they just spell it out several times. What did they call him? Not a rebel, a eccentric.
Okay, let's talk about
I was going to say,
that.
here we go, Brian. I'm going to hand this to you.
So they classify Harrison Ford as an eccentric, and Brendan Fraser is describing to his wife their chances of this turning out to be a worthwhile venture to save their children. And he's like, well, yeah, he's smart, he's got the science, but he's a little eccentric. Okay, so how do they portray him as an eccentric in the movie? The only thing that I could come up with is he likes really good music.
He listens to music very loud without headphones so that he can't hear the door knock or the phone ring.
Yeah.
He fishes, he said once. He sometimes bass fishes.
Bass fishes.
He drinks Budweiser.
He's been married twice, and his second wife loved cats.
That's right. Very eccentric
Yes,
man.
very.
So, I mean, and that's kind of...
It's eccentric on the level of Lifetime Special of the Week.
That's totally true. And I wonder, I mean, I wish I could have found out more about, like, I feel like this was destined for that path, and somehow it was like scooped up out of that, and like exalted as a real movie.
I'm really surprised I didn't see Oprah's name anywhere on this.
Seriously. That and this is all very, and I haven't seen the movie, but I've been thinking this all week. Lorenzo's Oil. Did you ever see that movie? Which I think is about the same thing, where like a dad goes to like find the cure for,
Yes.
and it's called. It just always had a terrible title, which is why I never saw it.
Right.
Lorenzo's Oil.
I
Don't judge a movie by its title, Todd.
I'm pretty sure I saw that, and I don't. It was
So like it has all the bones of it, but that's another thing too. Like we were talking before we recorded, Brian, about what Brendan Fraser's character does for a living. So what is it that before he leaves his job to pursue this, to go into business with Harrison Ford's character to find the cure, what did he do?
He was a businessman.
He was a businessman. His daughter says, "But Daddy, you're a businessman." And he says, "Yes, I am." And the other two things that they bring up, they're in some sort of meeting in his office, and they ask for the marketing materials. And the other time they ask, "Are you going to the product launch?" So it's like this terrible Mad Libs or like first level improv of like, I am at a business meeting. There's a phone call. Hello, is that product launch ready? Oh, now my thing is ready. I have an email. Business.
Mark, have you seen the VR video game Job Simulator?
I have seen it. I haven't played it yet. But yeah, it is.
That is entirely what it reminded me of. Time to job.
Precisely. You want to look?
How? Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Why don't we
Finish what we started.
finish this part so that I can get this off my screen.
So I never have to think about this movie ever again.
Yeah. So that's a bland neighborhood in Portland, and then
Portland.
This one's titled Portland.
Even though it's not.
You're right.
That's in Lake
It's
Oswego. So it's beautiful.
Beautiful house looking out over the Willamette River and pretty kick-ass.
Mount Hood in the background.
Yep.
The other side of the Fox Tower.
Yeah, so Brendan Fraser's office was on the side of the Fox Tower that overlooked Pioneer Court Square.
Looking
and they have,
east.
Looking east, and they have a doctor's appointment on the other side of the building.
He just
looking
walked
at
across the
West
hall.
End. Yeah, so it's very conveniently located. And of course...
because of this movie.
Maybe we should just call it Oaks Park at the movies.
That's right, 'cause
every single movie that we have.
Now, has it been 100%?
No.
Well, Halloween Town not, because that wasn't really in Portland. But I want to say the rest of them did.
Breaking In.
Free Willy.
Was The Hunted?
I feel like The Hunted, yeah, because they had the slow, didn't they have like a slow speed chase through there or something like that? With
That
like
might have been
100
Breaking
cops.
In. But
Anyway, I don't think Fatal Revenge did.
I think
Well,
it's
maybe
probably they get a tax break for filming in Oregon, and they're like, "But you have to film it." And I feel like at this
it's part of the
point,
small print.
that's probably why Oaks, the look hasn't changed in so many years. They have to keep it the same way because Hollywood is like, we
For-
need that little old amusement
continuity.
park. Yeah.
It's
So here's another. I think my favorite part of the movie, and it just typified what I think the feeling of this movie. So Harrison Ford is an older man. We can say that, but he still loves to do the Jackie Chan thing of I can do my own stunts. So what scene?
Are you
in this
saying there was a
movie-
stunt in this
What
movie?
scene in this movie do you think Harrison Ford made them include to show off his physical prowess? Do you remember?
Was it when the generator, the power goes out?
No, that was
Okay.
good too, though. It's when Harrison Ford character finally is convinced to work with Brendan Fraser, so he comes out to Oregon and knocks on Brendan Fraser's family's door. And the little
yes,
girl, and we should say the
yes.
little girl and the little boy that had the disease are wheelchair bound, and they have to breathe through ventilators, and they can't move. They have motorized wheelchairs, and this precocious little girl who has this Pompei's disease comes to the door and ribs Harrison's Ford character and says that her favorite subject at school is PE, where they get to do the sprints or the 100-meter dash or whatever. And so Harrison Ford's like, you're in a wheelchair, or whatever he does. And so the girl
try and keep up.
Yeah, and so they go outside, and the girl has a fast wheelchair, and she's zooming down the street, and Harrison Ford is lumbering after an electric wheelchair, barely keeping up.
There's no better word than lumbering for what
it was,
he was
and I
doing.
just felt like he was like, "You guys, I gotta show him I can still do it. I can still run. I can still do the stunts." And it was not good. Poor Harrison Ford.
Okay, so
So
Portland Rose Hospital.
Portland Rose Hospital. That's the Sky Bridge up at OHSU, between OHSU and the VA hospital. And then this
Nike.
is Nike campus.
Yeah.
Which was
By a
the
big pond.
in the movie served as the headquarters of the large.
Yeah.
Megacorp.
In
Yeah.
Seattle.
Yep.
Standing in for Seattle.
It was Beaverton. And Laurelhurst Park made a cameo as well.
I think that's making its debut on Portland at the movies.
Oh, it is,
Laurelhurst
yeah.
Park.
Yep. So they're feeding ducks down by the at the lake.
That was the sad scene where the girl is 9 years old and the boy in the movie is 7 years old, which is weird because the real life story they were like 5 and 4.
Right. So to make it more dramatic,
We
Make
had
more
to-
dramatic.
Some
Because at
tension.
one point, oh my gosh, so they're talking to this one doctor. They're like, hey, you gotta, in the scene that we just saw the picture of at the other side of the Fox Tower, that medical meeting, and they're pressing the doctor, how much time, and the doctor's like, well, I can't say, I don't, and they're like, you gotta tell us, and she says, well, something about the age 9 or something like that, and the next second they show the birthday party cake, a picture of her last birthday party cake with a big 8 on
Yeah.
it. So it's like,
It's like
she's
the
gonna
doomsday clock.
yeah, ticking in.
Okay, so Laurelhurst Park, and then so they're there feeding the ducks, and
The little boy
the boy can't.
Can't throw his thing
Throw
anymore
the
because his muscles
duck.
are atrophying, and then Brendan
Yep.
Fraser. I did like that scene where then he was like helping him throw the little bread into the water for the ducks.
Yep. And then
Manzanita Beach, I think.
Manzanita
Yeah.
Beach.
Which they
And
had.
the only reason we know that is thanks to our friends at the Oregonian, which we will get to. Did you include that photo in this group, Todd?
Oh, I didn't put that. Yeah, they've had a nice little map of all the different filming locations. So yes, thank you for
really?
that.
They were doing our work for us.
doing our work for us.
If only every movie we watched came with a map showing the filming locations.
But they had that scene where it's like a little family day trip for Brendan Fraser and Kerry Russell and their 3 kids to the beach, and it most like it usually is on the Oregon coast, just windier than crap. And they've got 2 poor kids out there strapped into a wheelchair, like being
With a breathing
whipped with a
tube.
breathing tube, and there's just like sand everywhere, and the wind is blowing, and
I was thinking, there's no way that those are just kid actors.
I think so because
Yeah.
I didn't click on their thing, but I would imagine that they are not.
They did not have Pompeii's disease.
That would be amazing.
It's a really niche actor.
That would really change my entire view. But I mean, as much as the girl bothered me, I think it was just the character that bothered me. I thought the kids were fine in this movie.
No, I thought the girl was really good, actually.
Yeah. And who was that guy? There's the one dad who comes from the South, and he's a famous. He went on to do some other things, and now I want to say D.B. Sweeney, but that's not it. Let me look him up here. Is Courtney B. Vance. Why do I know that name?
Didn't you say it was a father?
Well, he was.
Is Courtney a guy's name?
No. Yeah, it's this guy's name.
Oh.
So he was like the guy from the South that came up. His daughter couldn't make it.
Oh,
He was
right.
Like, here's a picture of my daughter. He didn't talk like that. I don't know why. He was in the. Oh, he worked with Bridget. Oh, he's in the new Mummy. Oh, funny.
Oh, the
But
one.
he has been working constantly in tons of stuff. Courtney B. Vance. So he I would say is probably the other big name out of this movie. What? Okay. You know who's in this movie that if you didn't know it,
Oh.
you would never know?
Dee Wallace.
Yes, but why do I know her? Because that's not who I was thinking
Oh,
of. I
well,
know that name.
She was the mom in like every 80s movie, including like E.T. and Critters.
Okay, then who was she in this movie?
She was the bartender who was in the movie for
What?
all of like 10 seconds.
Well,
and
that's
she got
the-
like third billing.
And Alan Ruck, who is
Right.
he was on Spin City, who was Ferris Bueller's best friend Cameron in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, was in the movie for like 20 seconds. He's like one of Brendan Fraser's coworkers or something like
Right,
that.
and he was not Are you okay?
I think I swallowed a fly.
Seriously.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, he was he criticizing him, or basically like, you should just suck it up, basically spend time with your kids, don't go after
don't go chasing this because it's going to take time away from your 8-year-old who's almost 9 and the doctor said she'll die then.
Right.
So, man. And are we done with locations?
No.
Okay, let's keep going then, because I'll just keep getting distracted.
Okay, thanks.
It's the best parts of the movie.
It really was. Ooh.
So the
Corner Saloon.
The Corner Saloon, which is down at
Wanker's
Corner
in Tualatin.
Yep.
Right by my church.
Is that the real name of the bar or just in the movie?
No, it is the Corner Saloon in real life. It's
Nice.
that same sign.
So in the movie,
Same
it's supposed
everything.
we're in Nebraska.
Right.
This is in Nebraska. It looks like a Nebraska bar.
It does. It totally looks like a country bar.
And that is all.
And that is all.
So
But yeah, Portland did look really good in this movie, I thought. But I was thinking too, so it's kind of like I said, they were reading the other part off the screen during the audition. Part of it is like they were reading it for the first time, but the other feeling I got was that it was just so generic. It was like movie, when they film in Vancouver, BC to get like generic big city. Like I feel like this was generic medical movie. Right. In the same way, there was like nothing to grab onto.
It felt very generic. Why do you think this movie was made?
I imagine there was a big response to the book. One of the writers of the book, I believe, won a Pulitzer Prize. I don't know if it was for this book or if she's just a Pulitzer Prize winner. So I have a feeling, and like we said, I feel like if you would read the story or like even go read an article about this movie, it will tell you the story of what happened in real life. And I feel like that is a compelling story. But when you break it down, like we said, there's not a lot of conflict. There's not a lot of anything.
It almost felt like an extended commercial for the drug.
It really did.
I felt
this movie brought to you by Pfizer.
All it was missing was like Wilford Brimley there talking about diabetes.
The other thing that drove me crazy is like sometimes in this movie they had cell phones and sometimes they didn't, and they would have like when they're on the beach they had a cell phone, but then like other times it's like he was late to the birthday party and like why didn't he just call? And there's a couple of those things where it's like it could have easily been solved.
Old movie logic.
But then at one point, like when they were at the beach and Brendan Fraser gets a phone call on his cell phone that now appeared, the son was like, "Dad, you're always taking calls on that cell phone." And I'm like, "No, he's not. You are a liar, kid." But yeah, it didn't make any sense to me.
One question I had watching this, I kept hearing the kids say something about a ripstick.
Yeah.
And I had no idea what that was.
Okay, I do know what this is. A ripstick is like a skateboard that has a hinge in the middle, and you put your one foot on each of the sides, and you move your feet up and down, and that is what moves the. It's called a ripstick, but it's like a skateboard that you move. They're really hard too, if you're old, I guess. But that really did like.
I had to look that up, and then when I saw a picture, I felt really old.
But they like called that out specifically. They're like, "Are you bringing your ripstick?"
And I think it's like a brand. It's like Xerox,
right?
Yeah, but
Ripstick paid some money to have it included in a Harrison Ford movie.
Think of all those kids watching this medical drama starring this crotchety old man. That's where all the money is.
So this movie, 6.5 on IMDb, which with
out of 10,
out of
or
10,
like out of 100,
out of 10,
okay,
out of 10,
well,
which
could be either.
So 6.5, that's a relatively high number on IMDb, with the exception of Halloween Town. That's the highest rated movie that we've watched yet.
Really?
Yeah.
See,
which is completely inverse with our enjoyment of the movies.
Yeah.
Because the lowest rated movie currently is Fatal Revenge at 3.3.
Fatal Revenge.
That's a case of people having no taste, though. But I would say, I mean, I would compare this directly to maybe The Hunted as far as like the budget and the effort and the stars and the power that came with it. And I would say The Hunted is way more enjoyable than this movie.
Yes. I would in no way recommend anyone watch this.
And so at the end, so the other character in it that I think is supposed to be the bad guy is the pharmaceutical or the executive that is in charge of the research teams. The research teams are trying to find the enzyme, fix that problem, and then there's the guy in charge of it, or the corporate is what they kind of kept feeling. He was always trying to shut them down or do something or other.
Be objective.
Yeah, he was always yelling, "Be objective," and like, "We can't do that. This is science." Because Brendan Fraser's character is an outsider, and they don't like outsiders. And
he's an outsider who also has 2 kids that have the disease, and he's never done this before at all. And he's just met this doctor, and so like. The fact
so
that
the corporate doctor has legit concerns, ethical and medical dilemmas that are very real.
I think
and he's made out to be the bad guy.
Brendan Fraser gathers the entire staff, including the president of the company, for a morning meeting with that, and just
victims of the disease.
Right. I just think about like how that might go down in my company of like. Some junior person pulling like it was just in corporate world. I just don't see how that could have taken place without it. Just
but see, it's probably compelling. We wouldn't know watching the movie, but that part of it probably was pretty compelling. But the way they solve it is just to like heap on that corporate guy like all of this stuff that. Are legitimate concerns. Like they are very real problems that they have to address, and like they make him the bad guy. And at one point towards the end of the movie, and this is when I was telling Brian before this, like usually for these movies, I'll have a good 4 pages of notes, both sides of stuff that, I wanted to bring up. This, I have 3 that are half filled. And at this point, this is like 15 minutes before the end, and I just started scrolling. I'm so bored. But then that corporate guy starts yelling at either Brendan Fraser or Harrison Ford something about Eric's gonna have your ass. Or so, there's like the 3rd time he referenced Eric, and I have no idea who Eric was.
It's the CEO.
Who? Who's the CEO?
That old guy that was it. He was the one speaking French in one of the. He was on the phone speaking French when he welcomed.
Wait! Did you watch a better movie? Did you accidentally watch something that was good?
Extreme Measures.
I know. I did keep getting that confused with the Hugh Grant, Gene Hackman film Extreme Measures.
So,
Eric.
There were 2 pharmaceutical companies. There was one that had 2 people in it, Harrison Ford and Brendan Fraser. And theirs got purchased by the big company.
Right.
The big company, the CEO of that big company, the company was actually French. And so he was the local...
branch operator.
The branch,
or whatever.
Right.
Manager.
And so he's on the phone in his office speaking French back to corporate. And I'm in this meeting.
He's just
but
saying
Brendan Fraser comes in and he's like, I want you to come in. I'm on this call, but I just want to let you know we're really happy that you're on board. And it's that guy.
Was he Harrison Ford's friend that
No.
after their initial meeting and then they're walking and Harrison Ford has his yelly meltdown and then Brendan Fraser
that was
goes
the
into
investor.
Is it the one that fires Brendan Fraser?
No, because that's the bad guy. That's the corporate guy. Who is Eric? Why is he so mad at everyone?
Does it matter?
Because there was the guy that Harrison Ford, Brendan Fraser, like, you got to apologize, man. You really blew it in that meeting, and it's not personal, it's business. And Harrison Ford goes, that was personal. But we never find out why or who. Or is there anything behind that? Is he making it up? Or
That's true.
So was that Eric, that old guy who
No, that was the
demanded science?
No, that he was a that guy that you're referring to was a scientist turned investor.
Okay.
Because he made his money in big pharma somehow. And so he had the driver and the big house and all the stuff.
Right.
And that's how they got funding
The
for
venture
the 2.
capital.
Yeah, he was the venture capital group guy.
Rinsler.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Did you look that up or did you just remember?
No, I remember that.
Right.
No, you got to remember Rinsler. You don't remember Rinsler?
And they were in Chicago.
Eric Rinsler?
They
No, that
purchased
wasn't
some
Eric,
stock Chicago.
oh, that's right.
footage,
That one
too.
did have
There's a scene in
some
Chicago.
stock Chicago footage.
Okay, so CEO Eric Loring, played by Patrick Bacow.
Bacow.
It's that guy. The
He was not in this movie.
yep. That was the French-speaking CEO dude.
Anyway, and that was at the end, and that's when I just got really angry because I was like, "Who's Eric? What are we talking about?" And then so, go ahead,
I was going to completely change the topic.
go ahead.
You know what's going to date this movie in a number of years is the scene when they're playing video games. Do you remember what they were playing?
No,
They were playing Wii, and they
Oh,
were
yeah,
playing,
yeah, yeah.
they were
Yeah.
playing Wii Sports, and they were doing Wii bowling.
that's right because the kids were in the wheelchair and they could do the bowling thing, and that's
Yeah.
when I wrote down they have a Wii but no cell phones. It doesn't make any sense.
They like bowling in this movie.
They like bowling in this movie.
You didn't get a picture of it, but they also went to a local bowling establishment.
Oh, that's right. I forgot to upload that one. What's that called? That's out in
Big Al's.
Big Al.
I didn't think it was a real place, but I looked it up, and it
I
looks
feel like I've been,
amazing.
yeah, I've been
Yeah,
out
Big
there
Al's
before.
is great. I've been to the Vancouver one. It's
I think
it's
I've been.
fantastic.
It's out toward Gresham or something like
Kind of
that.
expensive.
Yeah.
So toward the end of the movie, whatever they.
I'm not done talking about bowling,
I'm
Todd.
sorry. Good.
Did you see the girl how she was bowling in a wheelchair?
Did she use one of the ramp things?
Yeah, you like push the ball.
Yeah.
I'd never seen that before.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
really?
That's
Oh,
a
yeah. They
thing.
have
That was
you.
cool.
They're usually hiding like around the corner or whatever. It's the curved ramp, so you just set the ball on, it'll go, and you kind of aim it or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For either kids or older people or people
Or
who can't.
me. I just do it. I just use it because it's easier.
With the bumper lanes.
Totally with the there's no other way except with the bumper lanes.
So at the end of the movie, they get the enzyme all figured out.
It's a completely happy ending.
Not only do
Spoilers.
they get the medication, that they're-
Everyone lives.
they're allowed to test on, because the thing was that they want Brendan Fraser's two kids to be the subjects of the testing for this, but they can't do it obviously because Brendan Fraser is part of one of the executives of the company, and there's again legitimate ethical concern,
Conflict
medical
of interest.
concerns. So they fire Brendan Fraser's character to remove that conflict of interest, and somehow in the process, because they sold their company to the bigger conglomerate, Genentech or whatever.
And no,
No,
one knows.
Initech. That's the
Zymodyne.
Initech was the company from Office
Right,
Space.
exactly.
Brendan Fraser's character gets like
Cyberdyne.
crazy rich, which is why they live in that nice house we'd had the screen grab of. So yeah, he gets rich. His kids, and those kids are still alive. I looked up that, so
They are, wow.
They're like 15 and no, actually they're like 10 and 13 or something like that right now. But doing well, and their organ, because of this enzyme, their organs have returned to the regular shape. They're not enlarged anymore, and that was the big concern about this disease, is that not only atrophies you, but your organs get enlarged and your body can't handle it. So, but they give them this at the end scene. They give the two kids this enzyme in like a little saline drip or whatever, and almost immediately they like are full of energy and they're giggling and they're like, oh, it's working. That's a sugar high that they're on, and because it's the first time that their body
Right.
can like make its own sugar, and it was just so ridiculous. It was so dumb. It's so dumb that they chose to like immediately pay it off, like, because even the nurse was like, well, it might take a while. But like the next morning it gets all so.
And it wasn't only that; it was, you could hear the kids down the hall giggling, which then piqued the interest of the parents who were down the hallway. Like, what are we hearing? And let's go. And then there was also a lot of montages in this movie that
A surprising amount of medical montages.
there was the montage of Harrison Ford. Do you remember?
I don't remember any
There-
montage.
Was there loud rock music playing?
There.
Oh, I think one of them was they were playing The Weight by
Yeah.
the band. This movie had a killer soundtrack. That
It
was
did
my,
have some good music in
That
it.
was my favorite part.
Yeah.
My favorite part, besides the whatever I said last time was my favorite part, was when Brendan Fraser goes to Nebraska to find Harrison Ford at the very beginning, and he walks into Harrison Ford's character works for the University of Nevada, And Brendan Fraser walks into the science building or whatever, and there's this lady, and he's obviously there to meet Harrison Ford, and this lady comes out who's not a secretary. I mean, it's a university, so they don't have secretaries running around, but she comes out, she's like, she basically says, you're going to have to wait a long time. You know, you better get comfortable because he's eccentric, or was the message. Why he couldn't just come out to meet a man who's traveled halfway across the country's boundary.
Right.
So Brendan Fraser sits down in the waiting room of this college building, which has a waiting room.
And they imply that he sits there for like 8 hours.
Yeah, and it gets dark, and then Harrison Ford comes out and walks down the hall without seeing him. But Brendan Fraser is not asleep in this scene. He doesn't bother to look to see who's walking down the hall. So
he clearly
Harrison Ford,
hears the man
loudly walking past, ambling, shuffling Harrison Ford past him. And then it's dark. It's in the middle of the night. And who pops out of nowhere but that lady who was there earlier being like, oh, you just missed him. Like, she was waiting in the shadows. She was the one that said, oh, wait, Dr. Stonehill. You just left. Yes. So finally Harrison Ford walks out, and Brendan Fraser doesn't miss him in the middle of the night. And that lady pops out of the darkness. Dr. Stonehill, someone's waiting for you. It was so ridiculous.
So can we talk about reviews?
Yes. You cannot wait to end this this movie.
So I did find the Oregonian's review of the movie when it came out.
Cool.
And they liked it.
Really?
And they had another in-depth article about how they had the premiere was shown at Nike, and it was the very first film that the first major studio film that Nike allowed to be filmed on their campus.
Wow.
And Nike donated the $60,000 that they paid them to film there to the Dornbecker Children's Hospital.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So I feel like the review may be a little bit biased because it reads like a Portland love fest.
Right.
But they do say, besides the historic tone of the commercials, there's another besides the histrionic tone of the commercials, there's another reason to be suspicious of Extraordinary Measures. It was largely filmed in Portland.
They're onto it.
While homegrown talent and indie films have a solid track record here, the results have been decidedly mixed when Hollywood comes to town. Although it's no early Oscar favorite, Measures stands tall against such titles as Feast of Love, Mr. Brooks, and The Burning Plain.
That has stunned me into silence. I've heard of Mr. Brooks was filmed here. What are those other two?
Exactly. So
are they on our list now?
They now are. Remember, I told you this week I added two new
two
movies, and that's where I heard of them. I just am shocked that,
Burning
out of the
Feast?
woodwork, these
Feast
titles.
of Love? What
We've
was it?
already got like 50 titles on our list of Portland movies, which there is no single one list of all the movies filmed in Portland. Like every single one is incomplete.
Yep.
And as far as I know, we're compiling
That is
the
our
most
mission.
comprehensive list of films.
It's really true because there's like a Wikipedia filmed in Oregon, but even those
it's not. No. So we now have Feast of Love and The Burning Plain.
Feast of Love. Wow.
Todd, what did you find the critical reaction to be to Extraordinary Measures?
There was, I would say, a 5-to-1 ratio on Amazon.com of 5-star reviews of this movie.
What?
It is very well loved. I think it was in the 67%. Don't quote me on that.
Okay, so let me say one more thing. I said earlier that it has a 6.5 on IMDb, which is relatively high.
Uh-huh.
It has a 27% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, interesting.
Which is pretty low.
Interesting.
So Rotten Tomatoes, I think, aggregates.
Gets it.
Well, the movie, the reviews are typically when the movie comes out. And those are the reviews that they build the number from on Rotten Tomatoes. And then IMDb, it's more user reviews, and it's more reflective of how people feel about the movie now.
Well, I think it's a reflective of a lot of things. Not necessarily watching the movie is one of them, as we'll discover in some of these 5-star reviews.
Okay.
So from Movie Fan, based on a true situation. I really like that kind of story. 5 stars.
That's it?
Yep.
What?
From Olden Mother, love this movie. I'm very picky about my movies. Movie arrived early. Thanks for your diligence. 5 stars to you. From Rose Deshano, arrived in good shape. Thank you. All caps.
Arrived in good shape.
Are these just
These
the
are all
shipping
5
reviews?
stars Amazon reviews.
The DVD
of
was round.
Extraordinary
Thank you.
Measures. Brilliant story. It's about my family, says Martin Halloran, whose profile I picked.
Halloran,
and who has...
that's the Hunted Halloran.
Oh, that's right. It's probably him. So Martin Halloran, I clicked on his bio, and he has reviewed 4 things on Amazon. The very first thing is Extraordinary Measures in 2015.
So wait, this movie was like impacted him enough to write his first
His
review.
first review out of 4 reviews that he's written. The second one, the 2 of them came on December 9. One of them was a lightweight professional vacuum. One of them was a leather toilet bag, toiletry bag. And just recently on February 2, Martin Halloran reviewed the light blue LED flush mount ceiling light. So those things and Extraordinary Measures. So I don't know why he's saying brilliant story. It's about my family.
Do you think these people are getting paid to just review anything on Amazon?
I don't know, but Dottie Ruffles says, yep, 5 stars. And what I think is probably my favorite review I've ever seen on Amazon. It is not a 1 star. It is not a 5 star. It is a 3 out of 5 stars from Amazon customer. I have no idea what this is. I didn't purchase it. 3 stars. Not 0 stars, not 1 star. I don't know what this is. I didn't see it. 3 stars. So there's your Extraordinary Measures wrap up. Would you recommend seeing this movie?
No.
I think
definitely not.
No. What about if you were a fan of like the Lifetime drama medical type movies? You know what I mean? Like they have those Disease of the Week movies. I remember Bob Saget did one about scleroderma, which is a condition that his sister has where your skin turns to scales.
Oh, wow.
And it freezes your body.
Filmed in Portland, I hope.
I've seen School Ties a dozen times, and I used to be a Brendan Fraser fan, and I would
love the
Hashtag
Mummy.
Have you seen the hashtag Not My Mummy that's come out for the new Tom Cruise Mummy? It's amazing.
That's great.
School Ties. I was just looking at that VHS yesterday.
That had everybody in it.
I'm making
That
you
was
note.
today's
That
Brat
is.
Pack.
Or today's what was that movie? The Outsiders, was that the one like
Right.
all those guys were in?
Totally, yeah.
School Ties, New Outliers.
So
So for people who like that kind of stuff, do you think there's probably better examples of it? But I
Yes.
don't know.
I would
not-
recommend it for people who want to hear Harrison Ford say, I'm going to go take a crap.
Yeah, but then again, they already heard it here, so I guess you can go find that clip on YouTube. So go find a clip on YouTube. Like I said, it's a lot of here's a little bit of the discussion between Harrison Ford and Brendan Fraser, but it's a lot of just
Shit, if it was my kids dying, I wouldn't have hesitated to crush you like a bug.
He does fold remarkably easily. Like Harrison, for being this gruff, staunch, eccentric, like
plays by his own rules.
he yells and he's like,
All right.
"All right, no problem."
And you're right. He does that like 3 times.
He totally. He does it. And also, the montage was when they were presenting to the investors.
Yes.
And,
I do remember that.
And then, and the investors are like, "All right, schoolboy, you've got all your charts and graphs, but we really came to hear it from the master," and point over at Harrison Ford. And then there's this like extraordinarily long montage of Harrison Ford at a whiteboard.
That's right.
With PowerPoint.
Like pointing to things with his marker. We need a montage. And it was like a 3-minute presentation. I mean, it's not like they were there for days.
Did you also notice how Harrison Ford was slipping into Han Solo or Indiana Jones a bit and calling everyone kid?
And
Yeah.
he called him Jersey.
Hey, kid, you lost today, but you don't have to like it.
Yeah. Well, that, and I played the clip before of "Get off my plane" from Air Force One.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, you can go see some clips on YouTube. It'll give you a very quick idea of what this. But like I said, there's got to be better examples of if you like the kind of movie that are medical dramas or things like that. There's much better examples of it. So I would say look at the screen captures of what Portland looked like on portlandthemovies.com and call it a day on that one.
Yep.
All right, Mark, that's your take on it too.
Yeah.
Is
totally.
a big fat no. Yeah,
No.
it's a big fat.
It's
and
big.
I felt like I was having to write a book report for school on a book that I didn't like reading.
Well, a lot of the reviews said we watched this in our medical class or whatever, and there's a lot of people talking about the legalities of bringing a drug to market, which maybe if you're super into that, it would be good.
If you work in the industry.
If you work in
This just
very
didn't seem
specifically
so accurate. Like if you're gonna watch a medical movie, like this
Yeah.
isn't a.
I would go read an article
This is a
about
Hallmark.
I
about
think
this
I think
true
it would have
story.
made a good podcast series.
Yeah, like a
listening to the
serial
story
type.
unfold.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's true too. We won't be doing that.
No.
That'll be season 2 of Portland at the Movies is us doing a 10-episode reenactment of the true story.
Do you have the serial theme song that you can cue up?
Don't. All right. Well, that brings us to the end of this episode.
The
which
best part
means
where we get to talk about a different movie.
we get to talk finally about a different movie. Will it be better than Extraordinary Measures? We don't know. We had this rigged up on our screen.
Gosh,
but
I hope so.
our
I can
screen-
still do this.
Oh, we can still do it on. Yeah, So we
I'm
found a
gonna
little app that
close
has a
this.
spinning wheel, and we put 5 different movies on it from our list. So,
Hold on.
Mark, when you find that,
Okay,
you can read
so
off the
I've got it
movies.
here.
Yeah, can you read the options?
And let's refresh here so that we get the thing. I'm going to display. Boom. And then do that and make that live. All right. So we have Cabin Fever from 2016.
I loved the original. That was a remake.
We have.
You can't read sideways. You're moving your whole computer.
You spelled it Brian Smasher because I bet you've typed the word Brian a few times. So Brain Smasher,
A
love story.
Yeah.
Then Frozen Assets, Permanent Record
With Keanu Reeves.
with Keanu Reeves, and Kansas City Bomber
With
from
Ra-
1972.
With Raquel Welch.
Oh wow!
That sounds amazing. Let's hope it's that one.
Okay.
Okay, so here we go. I'm
Here we
going to
go.
click to spin. Beep, 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 beep. Kansas City Bomber from
Kansas
1972.
City Bomber from
Yes.
1972.
Wow.
Wow! As we all frantically Google
Kansas.
Kansas City Bombers.
Bomber.
Bomber. Oh, I should. That's a
I
crossover
barely knew her.
there. Bomber.
I barely knew her.
All right. Speaking of, you can hear me and Mark doing the Mark and Toddcast every week that we're not doing Portland at the Movies. So we do three weeks of Mark and Toddcast and then 1 week of Portland at the Movies, Mark and Toddcast. We talk about science stories, and Brian the Newspaper comes on to talk about what's going on in Portland. You can find that at markandtoddcast.com, and you can find Portland at the Movies also at Fun Employment Radio on the Fun Employment Radio Network. They've got a great network of a bunch of shows. They just hosted, Greg and Sarah just hosted the Portland Beard and Mustache Competition down at Dante's this past weekend. And they've also got other great shows on there. I was just looking at Geek in the City, which is Aaron Duran's podcast. They're doing a nice long podcast that has to do with brewing and a spoilerific review of Wonder Woman. So if you are a geek, definitely check out Geek in the City at geekinthecity.com, all on the Fun Employment Radio Network. I think that about wraps us up for this time. Any last thoughts?
None from
don't
me.
Kansas City Bomber.
Kansas City Bombers. Here's to I guess this set a new bar. We're restarting low with expectations.
I do have a question. Which movie was better or worse, this or Breaking In?
Goof.
I liked Breaking In more.
I think I did too.
It's going to be unanimous.
I never thought I would say that.
Right.
Go see. Well, don't go see Breaking In. Anyway, well, thank you for joining us. Find us at portlandmovies.com. This is episode number 8, so we've already done a bunch of movies. They're fun to go listen to. So find that at portlandmovies.com and send us a message at facebook.com/portlandatthemovies. Other than that, we will see you guys next time. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.